I'm continuing a series of videos about difficult questions that a relative of mine got from some friends, and so I'm writing blog posts on and doing these short videos. And the question I want to answer today is, what if religion is just a belief system to push us forward as a human race? So what if we're just imagining this religion, or we've kind of invented this religion as just a mechanism to move us forward? And it's a great question. I want to deal with, first of all, some of the assumptions. First of all, there is this assumption that behind everything is this Darwinian idea that Darwin came up with, that everything that exists because of a random, unguided process, that somehow evolution somehow burst randomly by chance life into existence, and then somehow this mechanism of evolution has somehow been a powerful enough mechanism to lead not only life to be created, but to be sustained and be reproduced. And then if that's true, then Darwin had this idea that implanted in every living thing is this desire to survive, flourish, procreate. And so behind everything, he saw this kind of survival of the fittest, that we're our urge, our only real motivation is to compete, survival of the fittest, and to procreate. So I want to challenge that. First of all, I don't think there's enough evidence for Darwinian evolution in so many different ways that it could create life. There's no evidence of spontaneous generation, that non-life can produce life. There's no evidence that randomness can produce order. There's no evidence that everything can come from nothing. There's no evidence that non-consciousness can produce consciousness. There's no evidence that we are ultimately driven just by competition and procreation. I mean, you can see some of that going on in the natural world, maybe with some animals. But when you look at human beings, humans are really driven by purpose, a sense of meaning. Also, where does beauty come from? There's just so many holes in this Darwinian idea. But for the sake of this video and the sake of the question, let's assume that the Darwinian idea is true, that all nature is run on this desire for flourishing, for survival. That we're all just trying to move forward, and this idea of human progress is kind of built into the natural order by Darwinian evolution. And then if that's true, then is religion just another kind of mechanism that evolution is using to forward our human race, forward the world? Well, first of all, that whole idea of progress or moving forward, I just want to, again, it's hard not to challenge that, where if we started by a random, unguided process by chance, what would moving forward be anyways? If there's no beginning, and there's no author, and there's no designer, and no creator, where are we supposed to be going? What is this idea of moving forward anyways? But again, I got to digress. So let's say that religion is this mechanism by evolution to try to move us forward. Well, the problem with that is a lot of times religion isn't helping anything. There's a group about 20 years ago really got popular, New Atheists, a group called New Atheists. They're a group of kind of atheistic philosophers and scientists, most famous by Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens, and really got famous after 9/11 as they started pointing out the holes in religion. And unfortunately, they clumped Christianity in with all these other religions, but they looked at things like in Hinduism, the caste system and karma, and how that hurts the people like the untouchables that are in the lower caste system. They looked at the Crusades, which I believe is not really part of Christianity, a Christian movement, but is a twisting and distorting of Christianity when it became this powerful political movement. They looked at, lots of things like radical Islam, again, the bombing the Twin Towers, and so some of these things, they show that religion actually is a problem, and And so they wrote books like Christopher Hitchens' book, God is Not Great, and how religion ruins everything. And there's quite a bit of evidence that religion in general is not always a helpful thing. It sometimes is hurting us. It sometimes is killing us. It sometimes is damaging society. What about Christianity? Well, I do think you can trace a lot of good things that started in Christianity, and you could make evidence that Christianity has made our race, our world better. Again, I would exclude things like the Crusades as not a Christian movement and all, but a political movement. But you can trace a lot of wonderful things, especially in our Western world, back to Christian roots, like an appreciation for the arts and architecture, appreciation for music. The beginning of science came from an assumption that this world is ordered and there's a creator. So many things like orphanages and hospitals where Christian movements have roots in Christianity, as Christians believe that every human being was made in the image of God. Some of these wonderful movements didn't start in Roman culture or in Greek culture. They started because of the movement of Christianity. So there's been a lot of good things that have come out of Christianity that have created a society of flourishing and advancement. And yet, and so when you look at that and think, well, maybe that's what Christianity is. It's just this idea, this mechanism for flourishing and advancement. And yet that's not what it was like for the early Christians. In the first 300 years, especially before Christianity was legalized in 313 AD by Constantine, the first 300 years, Christianity was heavily persecuted. Many of the emperors like Nero and others, Diocletian, and some of the others, these emperors heavily persecuted Christians, and so many of them would, like Nero, would lit Christians as human torches around his gladiator games or feed them to the lions. Christians were asked and demanded that they renounce Christianity and burn incense to the emperor, and when they denied it, they were killed. So in so many ways, when you became a Christian, the first 300 years of Christianity, and still throughout the world, in many places of the world, to be a Christian is really signing a contract with death, that you're going to lose things. If you're in Asia culture, you become a Christian, a lot of your family will kick you out of the family. If you're in Nigeria, it's a death wish. If you're in the Middle East, it's a death wish, and you're going to lose family. You're going to lose prestige. You're going to lose so many things. Even today in the United States, if you're a strong Christian, you're going to lose out maybe economically. It's going to be harder to find work in some fields. It's going to be harder to get ahead politically if you're a strong Christian. And so Christianity doesn't always lead to flourishing or survival. Lots of times when you become a Christian, especially those first 300 years, you lose things, you lose your life. And that follows what the apostles did. The apostles, all of them except for John, lost their lives saying they saw Jesus alive. So if there's no self-preservation, if there's no self-preserving advantage to being a Christian, if Christianity is not going to lead your life to flourish economically, socially, politically, why become a Christian? Well, the early Christians believed that it was true. And the apostles especially, they said, we saw God in Jesus Christ. We saw him dead and we saw him resurrected. We believe what we saw. And I love this quote. It was actually a high school teacher told me this. He says, some people might be devoted even to death to things that they hope to be true, but no one will die for what they know to be a lie. And so the fact that these apostles saw Jesus alive and they said, we will die for this, no matter what you do for us, no matter what we lose, no matter what kind of threats or torture or what happens to us, we are not going to change our faith, because our faith is based on the truth. We believe that God came into this world to live for us, died for us, be raised for us, to take away our sins. We believe he's coming back to set this world right, and nothing you do to us is going to change that. And so I don't see how Christianity could be just this belief system to move us forward as a human race, because to be a Christian has no temporal advantage sometimes. Sometimes your life goes backwards, but that's what Jesus taught us. He said, if you want to follow me, take up your cross. Don't live for yourself. Don't live for your own preservation. Don't live for self anymore. Live for God who gave himself up for you. Live for a higher calling. So hopefully that helps. Happy to keep discussing these ideas with you, and let's keep pursuing the truth wherever it leads us. Bye now.